Mr. O'Brien, just following on from that, and I'm going to ask you 3 or 4 quick questions, but was there any special financial provision? You don't have to answer, you might tell me it's not relevant today, but it occurs to me, listening to all of this and having looked, was any special provision made for Grace after all of this? Was any extra money provided, any extra therapy, psychological help to her because of the trauma she'd been through?
This relates directly to the issue of the appropriate level of funding received by the service provider. And let's be clear, I'm aware from the discussions I've had with the service provider of the extent that they have gone to ensure that Grace, as we're referring to, was very appropriately looked after. The question is whether the costs incurred by the service provider were appropriately met by the HSE.
No, I agree with that, but that wasn't my question. My question was, did the health executive, in its wisdom, knowing what it knew that Grace had gone through when she was finally removed in 2009, did anybody in the health executive sit and say, oh, good Lord, good Jesus, we need to do something here, we need to provide extra care, extra help? It's a yes or no?
I can't give you a yes or no.
Okay. That's okay.
I do want to give you an answer, though.
Okay.
And this, to some extent, relates back to a question asked of me by Deputy Kelly earlier. If I was satisfied with the level of information being provided to me internally, I wouldn't be asking Deloitte to give me their opinion on this matter. Okay,
well, I'm conscious here that the Chair is probably going to say it's outside, but I've asked the question and I'll leave the question at that. I'm not sure what Mr. Kelly wants, or Deputy Kelly.
With your question.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's very difficult.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I'm tired and we're here since 9 o'clock this morning. In relation to the Gardaí, I think the report was given them in July of the year it was published. Not published, but
Finished.
Finished, yeah. Would that be correct?
Is that correct? I'll need to check the schedule.
Well, I have read through it, and you can come back and tell me I'm wrong. And it was July 12 the guards were given a copy. Would that be right?
My understanding is they were certainly given it at the time it was completed, and that there was considerable
that's
dialogue.
been said. You see, that's been said a few times, and that's why I'm coming back now. And
so
the date.
Give me a second.
Okay,
I'll
all
check
right.
the schedule.
Okay.
Back to 2012. Yeah. 3rd of July 2012.
Okay.
Provision of Connolly Divine Report to Garda Síochána.
Why was there that delay between March 12 and July?
It's before my time. I don't know. I'd have to find out, and it might be more appropriate to the Farrelly Commission. But
I can draw a conclusion from that there was a delay between March and 12. If you can't answer, I accept that. But clearly a delay from March until July.
Was it finished in March?
Well, that's the date on it.
Yeah.
March 12. Anyway.
If I might just look at this for a second.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is that there was correspondence going on in relation to the provision of the report to An Garda Síochána.
See, I just
certainly during that period, and that may be relevant to the interval. So it wasn't that there was radio silence, as it were.
I don't know that, and you don't know that, and I haven't seen anything except a gap. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you then.
Okay.
I'll read from this into the record.
Okay.
13 March 2012, meeting. AM2, that would be a senior official, locally, met with AGS and advised of the HSE wish to have the 3 service user cases reviewed to determine whether further actions were necessary. Various discussions about that. There was then follow-up correspondence requesting details of HSE staff who had yet to make statements to AGS on the index case. So there was correspondence related to matters that were the subject of the Divine Report.
Yeah, Chair, I'm just conscious that you're going to give me a certain amount of time, and a good few minutes have gone. My question is awful specific.
Okay, I now know the answer.
Good, great.
At that time, there were legal challenges to the report, and it wasn't provided until those legal challenges were resolved.
There were legal challenges to the report from March 12 until July?
That's my understanding, yes.
You know, I've only read the report twice. I would really expect you to know this. this is your job to come in and be able to tell us.
Okay, let's be clear.
Please, let me finish.
Chair, does this relate to evidence I gave on the 2nd of February 2016? Answer, no. I was told to confine the evidence available to previously given evidence. And this is you could ask me a question.
He's doing his best.
Chair, listen, please listen now. Mr. O'Brien has brought this up. He said the report was given to the guards immediately, or words to that effect.
When it was completed, is what I said.
Yes, okay. No, that's very good, Chair. I'll do it through you, really. So it was completed in March 12, and my question through you, Chair, is how did it take from March 12 to July 15 to give it to the guards? Why am I asking that? Because it was given when it was completed, Mr. O'Brien said, and if I can't pick up on that, we might as well pack up and go home. Okay, you accept that?
The 3-month interview.
Given that I don't have the information with me, would the Chair be happy to accept a written follow-up on that point?
Well,
I have no difficulty. Sorry, Chair, I have no difficulty with that. But the answer has been given that it was given to the guards when it was completed. So that's what we were told. This report was given to the guards when it was completed. It's been confirmed now that it was July, and now you'd like more time to. I'm only asking factual questions.
I just want to be helpful to the process. Right?
Yeah, it's only the process, Chair.
No, to the process. And clearly there's an indication.
Right.
The committee believed that the report, when it was completed, was handed over to the Gardaí promptly. That was a reasonable interpretation. You're explaining there was a reason. We'll ask you, and you didn't come specifically prepared with that reason. Give it to us in writing, and we'll be passing it on to the Commission.
Fine.
Is that okay?
Yes, but
we don't have the answer to
No, not that. That's okay. It's difficult to remain focused, and I'm asking very specific questions that are factual. Was the report changed in any way as a result of the legal challenges?
I'll include that in the written response.
All right. In relation to the disciplinary procedure, and you've given us 2 letters and an opening statement, and you say there may be a disciplinary process. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Maybe. And I think later on today, then, when you gave evidence, you said it has started. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I did say that the arrangement of the disciplinary process has started. Which individual persons are subject to that is still in the May space, but in the round it has started.
When did it start?
It started shortly after the publication of the report.
Just in February.
Well, the report was published on the 28th, so
I'm not arguing over
Let's
a day.
Let's say this month.
Okay. Why couldn't the disciplinary procedure have started earlier than this?
In advance of publication of the report, and therefore the availability of the persons who would be subject to any disciplinary inquiry of the totality of the report, no disciplinary process would withstand challenge.
All right. And doesn't that kind of beg the judgment on my part that if you delay long enough, if the process is delayed long enough, I'm not attributing fault, I'm simply talking about a delayed process here now. Delayed process. So 2009 Grace is removed. We have our first report in 12, separate from an internal review. And now we're in 17, and the disciplinary process may start. Isn't there an inbuilt, what would you say, self-serving thing in that we delay long enough through one reason or another that no disciplinary procedure will be possible?
It is true that with complicated processes where time is lost, it does render more difficult to proceed. What I can tell you is that where significant adverse occurrences have occurred more recently, certainly during my time, I'd cite the example of Oris Attractor, for example. We have seen much swifter processes, and that would be the standard that I would wish to see. The last two items.
One is the whistleblowers, which was mentioned by Deputy Kelly, and I can tell him it's on page. And actually, Mr. O'Brien, you're quoted here on page 44. And I actually think it's important that we do this publicly, as I'm quoting your words. Page 44 of the transcript. It is clear that the whistleblowers have done a significant service through their protected disclosure in 2009, which has led to the Divine and the Resilience Ireland reports, and led to the removal of Grace from the setting that she was in, and ultimately to the removal of Anne. I am absolutely certain that they have done significant service, and so on. And you stand by that?
Absolutely.
I think it's very important that we say that. Now, in relation to that, would there have been any inquiry without the whistleblowers?
Any inquiry at all?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, other than that I can say that this is a case or a series of cases with more than one whistleblowing event. And it would be foolhardy, I think, to use the retrospectoscope and try and figure out what might or might not have happened had there not been whistleblowing back in 2009. I think that would be crazy.
At that time, in that transcript, Deputy Mary Lou MacDonald raised the whistleblowers, and it went on to what I've quoted. And she said, I shall ask my final question. The whistleblowers have been fairly damning in their description of the health executive. They feel they were ignored, set aside, undermined, and their professional credibility called into question. That was their experience of dealing with you. How does Mr. O'Brien respond? No, now, just to be fair to you, I'm highlighting it for two reasons. One is to actually get on public record what the whistleblowers have done for Grace and the process. Number two, I asked you, you said you can't look back retrospectively. No. Number three, in relation to what they have suffered over that period of time from 2009 onwards, is there anything to apologise to them for, or anything on your... You don't have to answer again if you don't want to, but it's entirely up to yourself.
They've raised, and I've met them, the two individuals that we're speaking about now, on two occasions, and they have talked to me about a range of issues which, if they are found to all have occurred by the Commission, are unacceptable. I'm not going to prejudge those issues, but I stand over exactly the remarks I made about the two individuals that we're talking about when I was here in 2016. And if memory serves me correctly, I reiterated very similar sentiments when I met with them on one of those occasions. Okay, we'll leave that for another day. So finally, just go back to what I started with and what Deputy Callan picked up. I asked you in relation to who was still in the service, and we finally got around, and you've identified they've gone on to Tussla. It's taken quite a process to establish that. Actually, no, I was clear when I was here last year that there were a variety of staff involved who were still at HSE. Okay, you said there were some, and I grant you that. What you did do, and why you're back here today, was that you identified 3 people. Yes. And of those 3 people, you said one had left. And I'm finishing on this. No, I said all 3 had left. All 3 had left, I beg your pardon. Yeah. The lead into that by the various deputies that asked, they were very attentive to the whole process, and they asked questions. The background to all of that was reassurance to the public that those who made the decisions were not with the health executive, still making decisions, or with Tussla. You'd accept that was the context when you read the transcript? I think that's what they were trying to get to, but I'm very clear that I didn't give that level of reassurance. My question is, you accept first that that was their purpose in the context? I accept that that was one of their purposes, yes. Okay. And in seeking that reassurance, you gave them reassurance that the 3 that made the decision, they were no longer with the public service? No, I think if you read the transcripts very carefully... I did. And when I reread them, I was actually surprised to discover that I'd been interrupted in my information giving 79 times, so much so that in one exchange I couldn't quite figure out what the question was and what the answer was either. But I was very clear. I said that the 3 persons about whom I had most concerns, and I had these 3 in mind, based on the information I had at that stage, that they had left the service. Now, I was not correctly informed about one of them, but I was equally clear. It actually took me quite some time to get back to saying it. Another deputy gave me the opportunity to complete my answer much later on in the proceedings, where I was very clear that there were a range of other people who were also involved, who were still employed in the public service, which was, in that case, I was clearly referring to the HSE and Tussla. So I at no stage ever provided reassurance to this committee that there was nobody involved in this process still working in the public service. And I think that there is a view that I did, and the transcript simply doesn't bear that out. Okay, Mr. O'Brien, sorry, I'm finishing, Chair. Yeah. Page 9. I grant you were interrupted and so on. Mr. O'Brien, Page 9 of the transcript.
Page 9 of the transcript. If I was unclear in my first answer, I need to restate it. So you get an opportunity to restate it. You get an opportunity to clarify. I know the Deputy will allow me to do so. I referred in my first answer, when the Deputy asked me for what I was apologising, to a specific decision that was made to leave Grace in the foster home in the 1990s. And then, Mr O'Brien, you go on. This was made by a three-person panel, for want of a better word, and those 3 persons are no longer in the public service, to be clear about that. Now, we've gone through all of this, and all I'm saying is, I can see you were interrupted, but you clearly gave a message following on from the lead-in that the people who made the decision were no longer working. We know that's not accurate for the one you corrected today. We now know it's not accurate for the second person that's been identified, and it remains the question, how many others is it not accurate for?
Let's be really clear.
Okay.
I sought to be clear in my opening remarks,
Yeah.
and I want to be absolutely clear. The term panel, for want of a better word, is me saying panel is not the right word, okay? There were 5 people involved. 3 of them had a decision-making and implementation capacity function. The Devine report makes clear that there was not sufficient follow-through on the agreed actions. Having read the report and reread it, in the interval between 10 a.m. on Friday morning and 12 noon on Tuesday, which was the amount of notice I had on that occasion, the view I formed were those were the 3 I would have had most concerns about. When I asked the question of my staff, where are those people, the assurance I was given was that they were retired. Now, they were retired, but that wasn't the whole story. One of them had been rehired on a part-time basis, and that's what I've corrected today.